I'm going to show you how to work the long tail cast on, which is my favorite cast on method. It's kind of the most basic one, but it's just good for everything. You're going to start with your yarn and the needles that you need for your pattern, and to get the right amount of cast on edge, you will need about 4 times the length of whatever it is that you're working on. So mine is 8 inches around, so that's approximately 8 inches. You can measure it if you want, but it does not need to be that precise. So I do 4 times that length, and then I like to do a little extra, so I don't like to cut it close. If you cut it close, it's called playing yarn chicken, and you lose your game of yarn chicken, you have to start all over. So I'd rather have a little bit extra. So what I just did, which I do it automatically, is I created a slip knot. So I'm going to show you how to do that again. You create a slip knot by creating a loop in the yarn. Come on, focus. You create a loop in the yarn, and then you take the top strand and feed it around the back, and then you just pull tight. And it's called a slip knot because then you put it on your needle and you just lightly pull on that leg and it'll tighten up. Now you want to make sure that it's not so tight that you can't move it. You want to be able to kind of easily move it up and down on your needle, but you don't want it super loose either. Just a teeny bit of space to be able to move. Okay, so this side, nope, that's my working yarn. You have your working yarn goes over your pointer finger. You want it kind of close to the tip, it just makes it a little bit easier. And then your tail, the yarn, so the working yarn is what is attached to your skein. Your tail is the end of the yarn, like the cut end. So that is going to go over your thumb like this. And then you'll kind of rock that hand back and catch both strands of yarn in these 3 fingers. You're going to hold them lightly because you want the yarn to be able to move through, but not so lightly that it slips. So this is your starting point. This kind of greater than symbol, less than symbol, one of those symbols. You rock your hand back so that the yarn creates a cross here, this loop around your thumb, and you insert your needle into the loop. You then sweep around the yarn on your pointer finger and then pull that loop over the top of the needle so that now you just have 1 strand of yarn on your needle. You let your thumb out of that loop and sweep it back, pulling this. Again, you want it tight enough that there's not a lot of loose yarn around, but loose enough that it still easily slides around your needle. And then you are reset to begin again. So you rock back, you insert your needle into the loop around your thumb, you go around the working yarn, picking up that strand. You then pull the loop on your thumb over the top of that needle, let it off your thumb, and sweep your thumb back so that it resets for the next stitch. I'm going to show you just a few more times. You go into the loop around your thumb, around the yarn on your pointer finger, pull the loop over the top, let that loop off, and sweep. And as you get more comfortable, you'll be able to pick up speed and just kind of easily and gently continue to cast on. Now I do tend to find that you'll see how the yarn is getting a little bit frayed. Every 10 stitches or so, I just kind of let that tail go and let it kind of twist the way that it needs to let out that little bit of extra twist. And then just keep going until you've reached the number of stitches that you need. I'll slow it down one last time. So you rock back, crossing that yarn, in a loop around the thumb. You go in through the loop, around and behind that loop on your finger, you pull it through or pull the loop over the top. Wait, let it go and sweep off. And now you know how to long-tail cast on, which you can use for just about everything. So I'm going to start with the twisted German cast on, otherwise known as the old Norwegian cast on. You start with a slip knot, just like you would for the long tail cast on, and slide that onto your right hand needle. Now you'll want to use about 4 times the length of your project or circumference of your project to have as that tail. The tail goes over your thumb, the working yarn goes over your finger, and we'll get started. So when you rock your hand back, it creates this cross. You will go under the entire cross, around that far loop of yarn, around and over, pick up the yarn on your forefinger and pull it through that little cross. Let go of the thumb loop and sweep the thumb to reset. Don't worry, I will do it several more times. So you rock your hand back, you go around the entire cross, up and over that far piece of yarn, under the front loop of the yarn, over and around the yarn on your forefinger. You pull it through that little triangle there, let the loop off your thumb, and slide back into place. I'll do that just a few more times for you to see. Over and around, under and around, over and around, through the triangle, slide and swoop. It can take a little bit to get the hang of, but once you get going, you can pretty much go just as fast as you would for that long tail cast on. And what this does is provides this extra loop, this extra twist in your cast on. And that extra amount of yarn has that give, that stretchiness to allow you to stretch it even further. Next, I'm going to show you how to do the tubular cast on, which is a very stretchy cast on. I'm showing you in 2 colors because I'm getting ready to do some brioche. You can also use this for 1x1 ribbing in a single color. If you're doing 2 colors, you're going to just do a loose knot here and place that over the top of your needle. If you are doing it in a single color, you're going to do 4 times the length as you would for a regular long tail cast on. Make a slip knot and put that over the top, and that will count as your first stitch. So you will actually begin with the 2nd stitch. Now if you are doing 2 colors, you want the color that you want in front on your thumb and the color that you want in the back on your finger. So we're going to start with a purl stitch because this we are actually casting on the wrong side. Even if you are working in the round, you will have to work a couple rows flat before you join in the round. So to begin with a knit stitch on the right side, you go over and around to underneath the yarn on your finger. Then you go over and under both on your thumb and then also under your finger, and that creates this really lovely purl bump right here. Then to create the knit stitch on the right side, you go under on your thumb, over on the finger and under both, to create this lovely knit stitch here. I'm going to show you a few more times, so don't worry. Go over finger, over thumb, under both, over thumb, under finger, under both. So I remember it by finger, thumb, thumb, finger. And every time you are doing that same motion, and you want to work hard to make sure that these are all staying aligned here on the bottom. My thumb's in the way. Once you get it twisted, it can be very difficult to get untwisted. And this is a very easy one to get twisted. So you want to just continue to go at a steady motion and keep it very well aligned. So again, we will go finger, thumb, thumb, finger, finger, thumb, thumb, finger, finger, thumb, thumb, finger. And as you can see, for 2 colors, we're getting this lovely every other color cast on. It will all look the same, except for you will start to see these purl bumps and knit stitches underneath. Now, when you have casted on the number that you need to, you will give that yarn an extra twist just to lock in your tail. If you are working with a single color, you're going to turn and you will start purling and knitting to set up that 1x1 rib. If you are doing your brioche, you will do knit or purl depending on which you end on, and then you'll slip one yarn over, knit one, slip one yarn over as your setup row. And that is how you do a tubular cast on. For the cable cast on, you don't need much of a tail at all, just enough to weave in the end. So you start with that slip knot on your needle, and then you will simply knit the first stitch and slip that knitted stitch on to the left-hand needle. Then you will go between the slip knot and the first stitch and pull that yarn through the bottom. And as you do, you will twist the yarn. I'll show you again. You go between the first and second stitch on your needle. It's a little bit easier if you get it up near the tip. There's just a little bit more give. Trying to do this through the camera is always a bit tricky. So you pull that loop out, and then you twist as you put it on. You go between the first and second stitches, grab that loop like you would to knit, pull it through, and twist as you transfer to the left needle. You just keep going as long as you need. This is also a great mid-row cast on. This next one is called a crocheted cast on. This had never really occurred to me as a cast on, let alone a stretchy cast on, but I think it's a great idea, and as a former crocheter, super fun. So the trick to making this stretchy is to have a crochet hook probably 1 to 2 sizes above your project needle. So how you do this is you actually slip that slip knot onto the crochet hook, just like you would do for a provisional cast on, and then you put the needle in front of the working yarn, and you go over the top of that needle with the hook, pick it up, and pull it through the loop. And then you reset the yarn between the hook and the needle so that it is once again behind the needle. With the hook, you go over the top of the needle, grab up that loop, turn your hook down towards the V, and pull it through. And then reset by going between. And instead of, like with the provisional cast on, just cutting the yarn and pulling it through that end loop, when you get to the end, you will just pull this a little bit loose, pop it on top, pull it to size, and you're ready to knit.